But Reed Smith decided to do this all by pro bono. And after they won their malicious judgments, which someday will be looked back with disgrace, just like the old civil rights judgments against African Americans in the South in the 30s and 40s on voting rights, we on candidate rights are going through much of this same judicial obstruction. Fortunately, we don't have to face sheriffs and dogs, at least not yet. They went the next step. They got the judge to interpret Pennsylvania law where they could assess us $81,000 in court costs and handwriting expert fees. We were the first candidacies in American legal history who had to pay court costs of those who objected to our candidacy access on the ballot. Never in the history of the United States. And Carl Romanelli was next 2 years later. So you see what's coming? Okay. Now, how did Judge Collins, the Democrat judge, misread the statute? Well, according to Justice Salem, clearly a very respected, learned judge in Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. You know, some judges just work harder than others. They study harder. They think harder. He said that the word petitioner in the statute only allowed the assessing of court costs by candidates against unsuccessful objectors, not by objectors against candidates. But it didn't work. Collins got a majority of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, who never answered the analysis of Judge Salem. Now we're going to see it in Ohio, and we're going to see it in Arizona, and we're going to see it in Oregon, and Illinois, and Florida. And you know what it amounts to? It amounts to the confiscation of the constitutional right and the expression of the First Amendment to speak, petition, and assemble by third-party and independent candidates who are seen as a challenge to one of the two major parties who are part of the two-party elected dictatorship in this country. That's what's at stake. We are the only country in the Western world who has such obstructions. At the news conference, there was a Canadian Green. She kept just smiling, wondering, how did we end up in this mess? It's so much easier in Canada to get on a ballot, so much easier to start a party, so much easier to get on the debates. And here we have a corporation called the Commission on Presidential Debates, created by the two major parties in 1987, and they decide who reaches tens of millions of people through the networks on presidential debates. We're the laughing stock of the Western world. Even Jimmy Carter can't monitor elections in the U.S. because his 5 criteria are violated in the U.S., including having decisions on counting the votes being made by partisan political entities instead of nonpartisan commissions. Of course, Jimmy Carter has trouble defending the right of third parties to get on the ballot in the United States compared to South America and Africa and Asia. That's quite a contrast for an otherwise very noble and very uplifting ex-president. You see how deep it goes. You see how deep this political bigotry goes. It doesn't matter whether they're Nobel Prize winners, professors of political science, whether they are precinct workers for the Democrats, whether they are members of AARP, it doesn't matter. They all have the same attitude. That is, we are the ones who take votes away from the Democrats and Republicans. It's not the Republicans and the Democrats in a rigged, corrupt system that take votes away from us.